Edgard Varese. Edgard Varese lived from 1883 through 1965. Notice his dates of life. He was born in 1883, the same year in which Anton von Webern was born. Von Webern, however, died in 1945. He was shot accidentally by a USA soldier. So here you have an example of a composer who led a long, full life, and you can compare him with a composer whose life ended prematurely. Now, although it is not evident here, the slides in these presentations do not allow me to use diacritical marks or so-called accent marks. You probably have before you a printed example of Edgard Varese's name. And you will notice that his surname, Verase, has a downward pointing accent on the second syllable of his last name, on the first of the two E's, Verase. Please take note of that mark. In fact, when you sit down to take the exam on this unit, you will be able to match that mark with similar marks in the title of a composition and in a musical technique associated with this composer and that composition. Names can be very useful to conjure up certain details that you need when you sit down to take a test. And in fact, you've probably actually heard the name Verase before. It's the name of a recording company that was named sort of as an homage to this composer. It is a French name, and you can probably guess something about the composer just by knowing that. In fact, Verase, the composer with a French name, was born and had his early career in France. And if all had gone well with the world, he probably would have remained there for the rest of his life. He moved to the United States of America in 1915, so he is one of those composers whom we acquired through immigration. Notice that he moved here in 1915. There were many Europeans who moved to the United States around that time, and they did so because World War I, sometimes called the Great War or the War to End All Wars, was in full swing at the time, and anyone who could do so got out of Europe if at all possible. And it was in the United States of America that Verase found a congenial place to realize his musical aspirations. Verase had a full formal education in music, and he had a number of very important musicians as his professors and as his fellow students. But his notions about music were not at all conventional. In fact, he informed his professors and his fellow students that he had no interest composing music using the sounds that other composers had used before him. That is, he was not interested in the sound of the trumpet, the sound of the oboe, the sound of the piano, etc. And he made it his life's work to harness new sounds to be used in musical composition. So his preoccupation throughout his career was with timbre, or tone color. And this will be borne out when we hear one of his most famous compositions, a work that gathers all sorts of sounds into it.